Oh, is that me? Okay. Hi. Welcome to the Facial Recognition Comedy Podcast. I am the honored guest, Jose Chavez.
Oh, honored. I'm Fizza Dasani.
I'm Paula Viganalan.
The dishonored guest.
Dishonored hosts.
Dishonored host.
We bring dishonor to our families.
Yeah, they're both holding swords. Actually, there's a camera watching, but they were holding swords. Digitally add in swords later, please, so you guys can fall on them if you're dissatisfied.
Oh, yeah. What is that? Arikari? What is that?
I have no idea what it's called, but it's something
Where
like
you fall on the sword, isn't that? I probably got it totally wrong.
I don't remember. I think I knew like 5 years ago.
Back
now
when
it's
that
on
Chris
the cloud.
Brown song came out.
Now it's in the cloud. It's in my Google cloud. Full disclosure to our listeners, it's like what 11:15:07. It's 11:08 p.m. PST, and we're doing this because we are committed to bringing you a podcast every week, every Tuesday.
Oh, and Zara's not here. She's not feeling that well, but
yeah, send her some good vibes, man.
Only good vibes only.
Good vibes only.
As Tinder would say.
Her tummy hurts. That's all I know.
That's all. Stop asking us for more information. That's all we know.
Shout out to the
We don't know
bubble
what
guts.
happened.
That's all I know.
Shout out to what?
The bubble guts.
The bubble guts?
Yeah.
Oh, ooh.
I mean, I don't want to go into details because, I mean, I don't think Zara would like people imagining her with bubble guts.
It's out there now.
Thanks, Jose.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just taking the information that I received and I just like throw it back at you. That's what I
But
what
with
I do.
like more details.
Bubble gut sounds like a Major Lazer song. Bubble guts. They have that bubble butt song.
I haven't heard that one.
It's pretty fun. It's a fun video too.
I was like, ooh, I haven't heard
bubble
that
guts,
one.
bubble guts. Yeah.
If techno was still a thing, that'd be like a thing that would go bubble guts, boom, boom, boom,
bubble guts, boom, boom, like a duck sauce song. Yeah.
I like this.
I don't know. Is that the same thing?
Can we want to switch up our intro music?
Bubble guts to bubble guts.
Can we just sing our entire
Welcome to the
podcast?
Welcome to the Bubble Gut Podcast. My name is Jose Chavez. And no, we're not going to re-edit this? Okay, fine.
Yeah, Paul's just going to cut out the whole first part.
Yeah.
Raw, we're tired.
We're loopy. Okay, let's talk about Jose.
Hi, that's me.
That's you.
Our honored guest.
Yeah, I'm the only one not wearing a hoodie, but I think it's best. Oh, you guys are wearing matching.
You got a lot of
hoodies.
hair,
Yeah,
so I assumed you were wearing a hoodie, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's the hair.
It's all hair. Yeah, although that'd be a great idea if they made a hoodie where like the hood was just like a wig sewn onto the hoodie.
I think that was like a Key and Peele sketch or something where it was like a black dude walking through a white neighborhood and he's like, you feel the tension building as all these white people are staring at him, and he starts to walk faster and then he throws up his hoodie and then the side is like a white kid's face so that it's like a disguise.
That's genius.
Classic Key and Peele.
But the wig idea, I think that's what we should do. I think we should quit podcasting and we should make these hoodies and then just make a killing off of it.
That's the swag.
Yeah.
So we're gonna like be in the merch business.
Yeah.
We kind of already are, but
So maybe we can. Maybe
I thought this was a marketing
facial hair recognition.
Yeah.
We could do like face masks with just like all
anything
of our
face
and
related.
it's like 100% profit because like we generate our own materials
Exactly.
Yeah.
every day.
And you know what? I am your first investor, so just lock away. Just take a cut.
You have money, Jose? What are
got
you
hair.
not telling us?
He's
No,
got
I'm
hair.
saying I'm investing by providing the hair. Not
We got all our aunties too. We could just farm that shit.
Yeah, what is it? We all just had awkward adolescence. Do white people have awkward adolescence?
Yeah, but they're like, there's more of them, so they
And
like
less
group
hair?
together.
They do. You
Or
can
less-
usually tell based off of how high their shorts were in the photos. Like the less awkward they are, the lower it gets. Eventually, it just turns into like those basketball shorts that are like real low. I don't know.
I've seen some awkward people with their asses out,
Yeah, but I think at that point
and
you
I'm
don't
not
know that
talking
you're
about only me.
Oh, that was a common trend for you.
I used to be obsessed with mooning people.
Really?
Me too.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you were obsessed with it.
Did you ever do it at Raging Waters?
I just, what?
Did you ever do it at Raging Waters?
That's a very specific question.
Because that's what I used to go when we would go with my family to Raging Waters.
Where's Raging Waters?
It's what is it?
Where? And I assume it's a water park.
It's like it's heading towards San Diego, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
But it's like I think it's like in San Dimas, but yeah, it's a water park.
It was Sunsplash in Fort Myers, Florida.
That's what the
And I
water
used to
park
only,
is?
Yeah, that's the water park there, and I only wore one piece.
Should be called Moon Splash with Fizzo around. Am I right? I'm a comedian, folks. I was always very like shy about it. In college, all my dude friends would like moon us. Like there was, I had a dorm room that was like on the ground floor, and like one of my friends came in and just was trying for like 7 minutes to get me to turn around and look at the window because my other friend was there with his ass out.
Oh, I love
just
window
never
mooning.
did it. He was just out there for so long, and I was like, oh, and he's like, oh, you should look out there. Like, isn't there? And I'm like, oh no, I got to do this thing on my computer. So long. It was so sad, but it was brave of him to have his ass out for that long.
Yeah.
How long?
It was several minutes for him just smushed against the window with no reward. That's a hero. That's how I feel about it.
Does he feel that way, or is he still beating himself up?
I think he's gotten over it. There were like a lot of mooning incidents at my undergrad, which is great because now like a lot of those people are like in charge of shit, and I just remember them from mooning.
You don't even recognize their faces. You've seen their asses more.
I'm like, oh, that person's in charge of a hedge fund. I just remember their ass.
This is a time where I'm sure there were no photos taken at the time, but this will be a good way to blackmail them. Like, look at all this
100%.
money you have.
Yeah.
Remember this photo of your ass?
Well,
There's definitely a lot of blackmailable stuff.
Yeah, well, like asses now, I don't think it's a big deal because now VH1 shows asses.
Instagram is all ass.
It's all ass. Ass is the new the cleavage, right?
I mean, ass is the new cleavage. That's what the
It's
word
just
on the
as
street
acceptable.
is. No, I mean, it is
be
acceptable,
a
but I'm talking about...
That's like you're talking about tits, but like in an educated way.
Yeah. I was trying... I legitimately was trying
You're
to
just
think
thinking
of a way
about
to try to
tits,
do-
Fizza.
I'm the worst.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that even though it's acceptable, I think there's certain people that are like, I'm too dignified to relive those experiences when it comes to mooning. I don't know. I assume that.
I never mooned. I always felt self-conscious about it. I love that you did it. I feel like there aren't enough, in the same way there aren't enough female Uber drivers, there are not enough female mooners.
Well, it was usually to like it was a means to an end. Like my friend locked me out of her car, and I wanted to go back in, so I thought the most efficient way is to shove my ass against the window or the passenger side window, and it worked. She's like, I don't want to look at your ass anymore. And
I feel like that would have worked the exact opposite if it was a dude. He would have just been like,
no, it wasn't a dude.
Yeah.
It definitely
he would have
wasn't
been
a
like,
dude.
look, do that all you want.
And when I was in high school, a dude didn't want to look at my ass.
Yeah.
I was, Did
you have awkward years? Wait, can we establish who you are? We were on your podcast.
Yes.
Tell the people what you do.
Okay, so I'm a Jose, and and I do podcasts. No, so I started a podcast years ago called Awkwardly Social that eventually became like the name of the live comedy shows that I would do. And I started it because I've always been very socially awkward. I deal with anxiety, but to me, I'm very comfortable with speaking with people in this kind of format. Mm-hmm. And I just over the years, I just continued doing it. And then I see everybody else started doing podcasts, and I love that because I'm a person who firmly believes in everyone has a story, even if they're not great storytellers, they still have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So now I'm just an avid podcast listener who puts out content as well.
Nice.
Yeah. And
so you felt, do you feel like podcasting has helped you with your anxiety and like feeling awkward and stuff over the years?
I think it's, I'm not a person who is instinctively retrospective. I'm rarely in the moment. It's very hard for me. Podcasting has allowed me to do that. And it's also been kind of a thing where I have to program myself everything about me is always very much like I'm required to program myself to learn a way of communication, a way of listening, a way of being in the moment. And even I also use the podcast as an excuse to initially talk to people. Like if I'm like, oh, this is an interesting person, I'd like to get to know them. The podcast is like a very candid, controlled environment to do that, so you can learn and connect with one another, even if it doesn't end up becoming more of an association after that. At least you had like a brief interaction with the person, so you can understand them a little better.
It like feeds the humanity in you.
Yeah.
What do you think drives the anxiety in social situations? Do you think it is not being present in the moment? Because anxiety I actually did an exercise last night with one of my buddies who is into this type of shit, and we just tried to be extremely, extremely present. I'm looking at Paul, our audio engineer, because I was talking to him about
very
this as well.
aware of the camera.
Yeah, but yeah, because okay. This is just a little aside. I'm tired of photographers taking pictures like from below. We don't like low angles. Do you like low angles? Do you like low angles? Does anyone?
I don't
do you like low angles?
I don't like pictures most of the time.
Do you guys looking like slugs? Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Professional photographers don't do it. It's hard when we're on stage.
Brought to you by tallphotography.com.
I love it. I love higher angles.
Do you like men who are 6'3"?
I mean, you are on a stage and the photographer is at a lower level than you are. So
but sometimes they're on the same side, the same level, and they still don't get it. I think they just don't get the flattering angles sometimes.
And I don't. Well, guys have beards. You guys can create a jawline. Okay, like
that's what this is.
Yeah, so it works. It's just more stressful. Anyways, like circling back to presence, like, okay, I was doing a show and there was a photographer, you know who it is. He was sitting like behind me or taking pictures from behind my neck. It's not going to look good. So it took me out of my set. I wasn't able to be present.
Yeah.
Or I had to choose, like, am I going to address this and be super present, or am I going to like step on my punchline? It was annoying. Take the pictures, do better. Do better. But also, like,
stupid photographers.
I also feel like you can't control all these things too. Like, we got to let go too.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
With the pictures that we post, sometimes, you know, we used to like argue a lot over like which picture to post, or like which one of us looks better, or like whatever. You know, we were trying to like do it for the whole group, but also we were all self-conscious about ourselves. And now I'm just like, all right, do it. Like, because it's, you know, we look the way we look, and we're not going to present a perfect appearance all the time.
The problem is that photographers definitely need to consider certain angles. Like, I get that. Sometimes I will fuck with my family when I take the photos of, like, I have a lot of female relatives, so I'll take the photos from the worst angles. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do this thing where I will take
like,
photos without letting them know when they're still getting, like, preparing themselves.
Yeah, when they're eating, I love that.
Yeah, because at that point they're the most natural and they're having a conversation, and I think that's when they look most beautiful, when they're just, you know, in the moment.
Yeah.
But then they'll be like, okay, then we'll do it. Then with the big cheesy smile, it doesn't work. Yeah, and they do all the
sorority
techniques.
pose and all that
I
stuff.
like candid photos. It's just take them from a higher angle. That's it.
Yeah, but I also like, but what if people are shorter than you and that's how they want to remember you? Like, what if they're like, I always looked up to her?
Well, you know what? I think it's just clarify the preference.
Yeah.
Up top.
I think what's frustrating about the photography is like like the way it's presented. So if it's like at a show and it's like a really good photographer, but then they take a bad angle, you're like, you wasted this picture. Like if it's like a candid,
I know.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, this could have been an opportunity for, and then they post it on like the show's page and you're like, this is not the best presentation.
I actually maybe took a page out of your book, and there was something I was like, I don't love this picture, but I'm not going to remove the tag.
Yeah.
Well, there were two of them. I removed the tag for one of them. So it
But I think I like on my Instagram, I try to post like pictures like when I'm with my dad or something and not wearing makeup and stuff. Like I'll post that picture because I just want to like maintain some sense of humanity and like realness. I just want to like not be so like, because then it becomes a perfectionist thing, and then you're like, I have to make every picture perfect, and I'm like, so I sabotage my own Instagram. Like, here's a regular picture of me.
That, though.
Reset the bar.
Yeah, I'm like, this is what I look like, so I can deal with it.
Yeah, I think I respect that way more.
You act like you don't look great.
I don't. Like, I do not like a lot of the way I look in different pictures, but I force myself to do it just to be a real person.
Gotcha. Do you think, one thing I was going to say earlier was technology sort of ruined the photographer, not just about like how everybody can buy a camera now, but because you have so many different opportunities to take a photo, you will take a million shitty photos versus back when it was harder to take photos and you actually had to invest in every photo you took. Every photo needed its opportunity, so you had to get good at the photography. Now it's like if you could take a great photo by accident, and people rely on that so much. But going back to what you were saying, I like the fact that that's one of the things that I like about podcasting is that it's if you don't edit out the vulnerability, the awkwardness, all of that, and instead you embrace it, it allows you to be more of a real person. And that's what I would rather see on my feed from people, is that versus every photo being like like I go to Disneyland often. I have a pass, and then sometimes I will see people who will take a photographer with them.
That's
to take
crazy.
The photos at Disneyland.
Beyonce, like who is doing that?
It's usually like really like dressed, like well dressed, like custom made Disney themed dresses and skirts, and then wearing the custom mouse ears, and then like doing like a cutesy pose.
So
and
this
then
is like
their birthday.
They do a photo shoot, and then they throw it up on Instagram, and every photo that they take is always like so like whatever
well crafted.
Yeah, it's well crafted, and it's like a great photo. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I understand that's taking it a step too far.
I feel like what you said about podcasts and like keeping the vulnerability, like if we don't put any mistakes out there, then I feel like the whole cancel culture thing will be taken to an extreme, right? Like I feel like we should be able to like make mistakes verbally, physically, you know what I mean? Like not be perfect, because otherwise people like hold you to this like unreal unreal standard. Yeah.
And it's a lot of pressure.
It is, and nobody's like that. So we're all imperfect.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone's heard of the study with Facebook, sort of making people depressed because everyone's presenting their best selves online, and everyone else is, when offline you're experiencing your real life and you only see the best of everyone else.
Yeah.
So it's very natural, I think, for people to compare themselves.
Yeah.
I refer to that as when they go pastel. Because if you notice, they have like pastel color schemes. They have that filter that makes everything look soft, so it gets rid of all the blemishes. And this comes from an experience from somebody that I went to high school with, who her and her family always take these beautiful photos, and everything looks kind of just like
I'm thinking of some people now.
It's like every photo is like, was it just Easter for you? Like, what is happening?
So is it jarring to see these people in real life without the filter?
Well, it's not the filter itself; it's the projection of who they are, and the perfection that they create from this thing. It's like, I understand that people have. It's not necessarily that they have an unhealthy relationship or whatever, but I feel like you are filtering out the flaws in your characteristics because you want to represent a perfect family, a perfect mold, and that just doesn't exist. And it's a little annoying, actually.
Yeah.
It's like now it's like back in the days when you would see that kind of stuff, you'd be like, oh man, those Tanners at Full House, they're just such a perfect family.
Except for Aunt Becky.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're like, you know what? We know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like that whole pastel look and feel.
That's why we had Angelina Spicer on the podcast, and she is doing a lot of activism for postpartum depression. And so sometimes she'll post, I especially was thinking about this with regards to families, because I know friends who have kids and they do that pastel thing. But she'll post pictures of her holding her crying baby, looking like exhausted on the toilet. And she's like, motherhood, and it's so funny and real. And so that makes me appreciate those moments more when people are just like fully themselves on social media. It's such a breath of fresh air.
Do you follow
but how come they don't get all those likes?
They do sometimes.
They do.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Do you follow honest couples on Instagram?
Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah, it's so funny.
So fantastic. So they what they do is they take photos,
stock photos
or photos that are submitted by followers, and then they'll put the caption is just so real. Like the caption usually there's
one of Becky and her husband.
Yeah.
And the caption is, honestly, we just wanted to get our kid out of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
For the whole USC scandal.
So they're, I appreciate that. I think for a while I tried to do that with my social media, but then I have such conflict and like internal conflict when it comes to it, because I try not to go too private with it. Like I no longer tag friends and family in posts, because people are so weird and creepy on there. So so I try to keep a certain bit of anonymity, but I certainly don't hide the flaws within myself. Like I'll be super vocal about my depression, about my anxiety, how it takes citalopram, how I've done therapy, and how when I was a kid I attempted suicide. So it's like these are things that I'm super open and honest about, but I won't tell somebody else's story because
you won't air out someone's business.
Exactly, because it's not my thing, it's not my place.
Sometimes I'm not that careful with it.
You're not that careful with other people.
But I respect how you're doing it. It's just like I think with comedians, like we like it's so easy to like talk about your family and talk about.
Well, yeah, we were so affected. I know that. I mean, my mom all the time like will text me like, "Oh, don't talk about this." Like, there's so many secrets in our family, and it's just like, I hope. I mean, she'd be horrified if she listened to this podcast and knew anything about my life.
Yeah.
She likes the pastel. I was raised in that environment where that was the expectation. So there was extreme pressure to be perfect, which doesn't exist. So you're setting yourself up for failure, setting us up for failure.
She congratulated you on your latest selfie.
Yeah, she congratulated on my latest selfie, which I used the Paris filter, which is only available on stories. So I put it on story. I downloaded it.
That is,
and then I cropped it, and now I got a lot of validation from my mother. She said congratulations, like I achieved something.
Yeah, my mom likes to let me know every now and then. She's like, "You look like your father," but she doesn't say that in a good way.
Oh, really?
So,
technically, she's calling you fuckable because she fucked somebody who looks like you.
Well, it's a regrettable fuck, I suppose, if she were to try to process that. No. So
does she feel resentful towards your father?
Need like 3 more therapies.
She hates him. He's a dick. He pieced out of our lives a long time ago. But so she going back to the whole family thing is like, I can talk about like when my mom, I tell a story about how my mom when I was a kid thought that I was gay. I tell these like weird, funny stories of things that are character flaws for her, but they're in direct relation to me.
Right, it's your experience.
So exactly. Yeah. So that stuff is fine, but I won't talk about like if any personal hell shit that my mom went through. Yeah. I won't talk about that publicly.
Just what happened to you.
Exactly. So
what was in your experience?
Exactly. So my comedy reflects that as well. Like it'll never be me airing out my family's secrets. It'll be more about the experiences that I had that were completely directly related to me, because it's almost always self-deprecating, but in a positive way.
And is this intentional, where it's out of respect for the privacy of your loved ones and people close to you?
If somebody says, please don't talk about me on something, I won't. If somebody says, please don't reference this, I won't. And it's hard, especially when it's a comedian or it's a really good story. Like every now and then I have done a thing where like I've done a bar show where I'm like, I can tell no one's filming it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to tell this story. So I have told certain things that I shouldn't, but they were in such a closed or private
wouldn't get
environment.
Out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or at least I hope it. I mean, I haven't heard any of it come back
Not
to me
yet.
So I'm thinking there's a definite gamble there, but
I can't do that, man. Like I can't like censor. Like once I found comedy, I was like, everything's out there.
Yeah.
It was so freeing. I can't do that.
Well, I mean, they don't watch my stuff, so they don't know what I talk about. But I mean, I definitely have requests.
Mm-hmm.
Like, please don't talk about this or that. And then like I've sort of understood. I found the line. If their illness hasn't affected me or the story I'm trying to tell, then it's not not something I need to share. If it's not a factor. But I've been towing that line. I mean, like I have life events all the time. That's like the running joke now.
Life events.
Well, we had a podcast guest that kind of like analyzed our dynamic, and then and he was like, and Fitz always has life events, which we all have life events, but I think, at the time she was going through it.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a lot of ups and downs, and I don't know how much is internal, but like I guess I'm deeply affected, so it's sort of like I have mood swings and shit.
Can I say 2 things that probably have no relation to it, but was something I've been working on as far as like my philosophy lately?
Yeah.
One thing, I can't take credit for the phrasing of this because I read this online, but it's don't believe everything that you think.
Yeah.
Which is because you can build up a story in your head, and this is something that's going on. I'm sorry, I'll just get to my second point.
Yeah, of course.
So the other thing was going back to even with like my mom, like I won't tell certain stories, but I have been very vocal about the fact that she is not a fan of how vocal I am about my depression, because she's from a generation where it wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, I relate to that.
So, but at the same time, she doesn't realize that she's dealing with it. And then when she finally started to realize that it's a thing she's dealing with, that's when she started being more open with it. And one thing I always said to, is like, she will create a story in her head and she'll have a theory and she'll build it up. So by the time she talks about it and expresses it, because she has to express herself, she's coming from a place where it's a complete misunderstanding, because she built a whole story scenario in her head that was negative, where she was the victim
spiraling,
or where she was exactly.
Yeah. And I think like, piggybacking off of that, I've learned I'm training myself not to identify with my thoughts and not to identify with my intellect. And I mean, I think I used to just overanalyze and overthink everything. And I think like a lot of my self-medication is just to quiet those voices down, because it's like I'm overthinking. So it's like I think of myself as like, okay, Fizza the organism, and that's where the brain comes in, and then Fizza the, you know, sort of in the cosmic sense, where having that cosmic perspective, where I'm the observer of the intellect, an observer of so when I'm spiraling, I can be like, oh, that's not me. This is just something that I do
My brain
sometimes.
does. Yeah.
So that's actually a great tool. My mom, you know, I'm trying to sort of, when I talk to my mom now and she's sort of spinning out, I say, hey, you know, I don't think this is you. Like, you're dope. You're really cool to talk to. But when you're operating from this place of anxiety, that's not you, and it's destructive.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And she gets it. Like, she receives it. So I mean, these are new concepts. Neither of us were raised to understand what the hell, like, you know, cosmic self. You know, the organism, like if 5 years ago, I'd be like, who the fuck are you? You know, to myself.
I always thought, like, for other people, because you're always biased by your own brain, right? Like, so I would always think like, yeah, like mental health issues, that's very physical. That's like, I understand like the neurotransmitters and the stuff that's going on with that. Like, that's a very physical thing. Yeah. And so like, I was always able to like do that with other people. But then, once you're trapped in your own head, you're just like, who am I? What am I? Like, am I this feeling right now? Like, if I'm not, then what feeling am I? Like, you know what I mean? And so it is like really a smart way to pull yourself out of it by realizing that, as Jessica Michelle Singleton had said in her show, you're like a vessel for all these emotions. And you just, you know, everything is ephemeral.
Well, one of the problems with the depression and really trying to process things internally, like when I was a kid, I talked to myself, like I mentioned it briefly that I attempted suicide when I was a kid. I was stupid, so I didn't realize jumping off the first floor wouldn't successfully kill me. But
did you break an ankle or something?
I broke nothing. I realized I was invincible.
That's a great lesson.
That's how he became Spider-Man.
Now I jump in front of vehicles. My dad ran my leg over once with his car. That's another story.
Whoa.
That was an accident. But I still like to bring it up from time to time.
And your leg didn't break. It was like actually stronger.
Actually, what ended up happening is, so my dad in my senior year of high school, he was giving me a ride, to me and my date. He was giving us a ride. We're dropping her off back at her place.
This was after a date.
And so we were riding in the back seat like he was our chauffeur. And mind you, I was a senior, so I wasn't like a little kid. I was 18 years old being chauffeured. And I go and I close the back door, and I'm going to go and sit in the front with him because I was like, I don't need to sit in the back anymore. He thought I went back in the car, so he started to take off. And he ran over my leg and just like ran over my calf. And he stopped on me because he was like, he felt the bump, and then he kept going, and then I stood up and I was like, what the hell? I was like, I am invincible. And
that didn't do anything?
No. So, but there was a big tire track on my pants.
How are you not serving vigilante justice right now? Like,
I honestly don't know. I drink a lot of milk and eat a lot of cheese, so maybe my bones are just super strong. But when I got home and the adrenaline wore off, it felt like someone took a hot poker into my muscle. And so I just like dip it in. I just like dumped ice in the tub and just like put my foot
but you
foot
didn't
in
break anything.
Nothing.
Crazy.
No, it's insane. The things that have happened to me where I'm like surprised that I haven't broken a bone yet. I mean, I'm sure now that I'm getting older, I'm probably gonna have one misstep and suddenly every bone on my knee breaks or something.
I mean, don't be so sure. I mean, the power of calcium, you know.
That's true. That is my superpower is calcium.
Milk and cheese.
Did you get to just like hold that event over your dad? Like anytime he was like, "Hey, like go take out the trash," and you were like, "You ran over my leg."
Well, yeah, I hold that specific day over his head all the time because it was the day where he was simultaneously a terrible father twice.
Oh, God.
Well, technically 3 times, because what happened was I never cut class. The one time I cut class and the entire time I was in school, it was senior ditch day, and I had actually asked my mom for permission. We're like, hey, Mom, tomorrow's senior ditch day. Can I take the day off? It's like, sure. But then the one time I was like, I'm going to be rebellious. I'm going to cut class. I'm going to call my dad to come pick me up. So he picked me and my girlfriend up. He took us to the movies. And then, but when we were getting into his car, like he pulled up in the front, we walk out. And as we are walking out, a giant SUV pulls up behind us and these thuggish looking dudes are in there just kind of like blasting music. And then one of the back doors opens up, and my sister jumps out of the back seat, like her 4'11" just goes, and she's like, all right, guys, see you later. And we turns around, and my dad locks eyes with her. She locks eyes with my dad. I lock eyes with her, and we're kind of all doing this thing where it's like,
oh damn,
like she just got caught, but he can't say anything about that with her because he's in the middle of helping me cut class. So the three of us all had sort of a silent like nod, like, okay, we're all gonna not talk about this again.
That's so funny.
And so my sister went in, and as my dad was driving away, he was driving. He's like, oh my God, I'm such a terrible father. I was like, you sure are. And so,
Jesus.
I mean, you were taking advantage of that.
I was taking advantage of it, but then he ran me over later. So it's like
the same day.
Maybe that's why.
Exactly.
So many life events.
Yeah. My when my brother was in high school, I guess he was cutting class or something, and it was in downtown, and he was at an intersection, and he was we had this van that was like passed down through the family, so he had all of his friends in his van, and he was at an intersection, and my dad happened to be across the other side of the intersection, and they were just like standing there, and my dad was like, what is happening right now? And my brother totally got caught and in trouble and everything.
That is so great.
It's so funny.
I think senior year in high school, we had passes to leave. Like we had
there's
leave
some
early.
like ditch day thing. Yeah.
So I had a friend who wanted to leave and didn't have a pass. So I thought it was a good idea to put him in my trunk.
Oh, God.
And it worked.
Nice.
Yeah, it worked. They didn't search anything. They didn't even suspect that I would have
like
a
even
friend
to
in my
body
trunk.
in your trunk.
You had to like have the pass.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's a little gate person.
Oh, we didn't have that. We could just like come and go.
Yeah. I mean, I think during school hours, there was someone there.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, he was game.
That's so funny.
I like that. I've done that. I used to drive a Honda Civic, and so Honda Civic can comfortably seat about 4 to 5 people, depending on your width. I had 7 of us in there, 8, including my cousin in the trunk. And he was
in the trunk.
Yeah, so I had a cousin in the trunk.
So what type of car was this? Like, this is not a
Civic.
hatchback. Okay, so it's a sedan.
Yes, it's a sedan.
So
yeah,
it's a
no
closed
hatchback.
trunk, yeah.
So
Okay.
a 4-door. I want to say it was 4-door. It might have been a 2-door. But we had 3 cousins in the back, 1 laying across, and then the one in the front seat, and then one in the trunk. And then and it was.
Who was in the trunk?
I honestly don't remember which one. I should double check. He might still be there. This was 20 years ago, but he. So it was so funny to me because my car had not ever ridden so low. Like the back was kind of scraping a little bit because of everybody being in there. I was like, oh my God, I am at capacity with this thing. That's a lot of fun though.
Just using so much gas.
Yeah, I was so scared. I was driving because I'd only been driving for like 2 months, and I was like, oh my God, everyone's life is in my hands right now. So I got to
literally everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really dumb that we all get to drive at 16, but it's also like really fun. Like it's crazy that we were like that young and that stupid and given that power. But like I loved having my van. I would like sleep in it. I had that van that my brother had. It was a Mercury Villager minivan. And it was, by the time I got it, like one of the doors wouldn't open. It didn't have air conditioning. Sometimes it would just stall and then just shoot forward. It would just like slowly slow down, and then I'd be like, come on, let's do it. And like on the highway and shit.
At any point, was that van the shagging wagon? Like at any generation?
I did make out with my first boyfriend in that van.
Ooh.
It was really cute. It was the first time we kissed. It was my first kiss.
Something like that happened with me in my Taurus, my Ford Taurus. That was my first car, and then I think someone said something funny, probably me, because he's the one that peed.
What?
Yeah, he peed all over me in the back seat. So.
Oh
Jesus
my God!
Christ. Are you dating R. Kelly? Like what?
No, it was just I think I must have said something really funny. I wish I remembered.
Are you sure it was that funny? Maybe he just used that as an excuse. Like he's like, oh my God, you're so funny, piss.
No, man, he couldn't stop. Like I do you know how it's hard to stop peeing once you start?
It is. I think it's harder for dudes too, right?
A little bit of hose kinking might take care of that, but yeah, it's very difficult. He knows what I'm talking about.
Hose kinking, please tell us.
Well, the hose, you kink it a little bit.
You kink your dick.
Does that hurt?
Yeah. Oh, it's very uncomfortable. Is
that the only way?
I mean, you can.
So it's emergency only.
There are muscles you can like try to constrict it as much. I mean, because you have to pee when you're asleep, and you obviously so you do have the ability to constrict it. Even though you started peeing, it's very hard to convince your body to be like cut that shit out. And it's like, but it feels great, and no, stop. My brain is having a conversation with me apparently. But it's not impossible. It's just not the easiest thing.
And it's not pleasant.
It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's happened.
Hose kinking is like the medical term for it.
Right? Is it really?
No.
I don't know.
I learned it in medical school. Yeah.
Yeah. When he was in med school.
Yeah.
After he got run over by a car and needed to find out why he survived.
I did. You know what? I took a pain study once. I needed money and I was part of a pain study.
Oh shit! Did you? Was it bad? Like how?
No. I volunteered to be a pain so I wasn't feeling any pain. So it was a friend of mine who was in med school who worked for, I want to say it was like the what's the Children's Hospital, and they were working on a study about dealing with people dealing with chronic pain. So what they needed to do was essentially induce pain in people to see what their threshold is, to see how their brain reacts to different things. They will give you different stimulations and then ways to distract you, ways you distract yourself, and they would track all of that stuff. And then they would strap these like metal plate box thingies on me that would release bursts of heat, like essentially like if they took an iron for ironing clothes and then just pressed it all over me.
Yeah.
And they would simulate that thing. And why did I bring that up? I totally forgot what we were talking about.
Because I said that you went to med school because you wanted
hose kinking.
Yeah, hose kinking.
Yeah.
It all comes back to penises.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. That's when I discovered that I had a high threshold for pain, which isn't that big of a deal because apparently men can, well, even with a high threshold of pain, from what I've heard, is still pretty low compared to what a woman can deal with, is what I've heard. I'm not
sure. I feel like, just anecdotally, I feel like women are really good at sustaining just pain for longer. We just endure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and maybe it's an endurance thing because it's just
we live longer.
Generally, but
we go through a lot.
Yeah, I mean our bodies are built for childbirth, so it's just it would be a design flaw if we. If everything hurt. Yeah,
I get that.
Although,
it is surprising though. I do think it's like, have you guys noticed like if you like have pain for a while and then if like it gets better, you like forgot how bad it was? Like I used to have stomach pain a lot and I just thought like I would eat and I would have stomach pain and I just thought that's what life was. And then it got better and I was like, oh my God, this is what like normal people feel. It's crazy.
I had headaches every day. So I had a lot of tension headaches and it was a similar thing where I just sort of popped Tylenol and dealt with it.
And just thought that's what life was.
Like, in elementary, middle school, like lasted until probably mid-high school.
Oh God, that's crazy.
And now I see it was just probably stress.
Yeah.
From,
do you still have the chronic headaches?
Not usually.
Yeah.
No, I grew out of it. I get it occasionally.
I had a root canal because I ignored a pain in my tooth for years.
Ew.
And then I was like, oh, that hurts again. And then I forget who said it's like, what? I'm like, my tooth, it's been hurting for a while. They're like, you probably should go see somebody for it. So I had a filling put in and the filling fell out. And so it caused.
Oh, they put a filling when there was a damage to the root?
No, they put a filling in when I had a cavity. So
gotcha.
So then that filling fell out, and then I left a little opening. So the damage reached down, and I always had a headache because it was a pain shooting through. And I was just like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna deal with this. And then eventually I was convinced. So now I had to have a root canal on one of my teeth, and I was like, oh, this is a million times better. It turns out I didn't have to deal with this pain, but I also have not so much these days, but I have like chronic testicular pain from like trauma.
Oh shit! Did your dad roll over your nuts with a truck?
No.
Is that what truck nuts are?
Yeah, he just. I was like, Dad, stop backing up.
He's like, you're indestructible, boy, and so are those testicles.
It was a test. Yeah, no, it was
more cheese.
A testy test.
Yeah, it was. It happened. I in a very short period of time, I tried to climb over a fence, which wasn't a great idea. Fell. My cousin kicked me while playing football, and another cousin kicked me while playing basketball, all in a very short period of time. And then
maybe it was a cousin you shoved in the trunk. Maybe that's why.
Maybe Steve-O from Jackass is actually the one that caused the main trauma.
What?
This is forever ago. I'll tell the story real quick.
Yeah, please.
So I used to work for Westwood One. It's a radio network out in Santa Clarita area, but they were in charge of the Love Line for K-Rock. They produced it.
Oh, yeah.
So I went with my buddy who was a producer for it one night, and he had me come out with him. And it was at the studios where they were at. They had these rooms. They had 3 studios next to one another. So, and they just like a glass partition in between each one. So the far end one was Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla, and they had on Steve-O and Chris Pontius. They were promoting Wild Boys. And in the middle room is where Steve-O and Chris Pontius had a bunch of alcohol and drugs, and they'll just get crazy fucked up in there in between the breaks. And then I was in the other one just kind of watching and listening and just learning about this stuff. And when they were leaving, my buddy asked Steve-O, hey, can I take a photo with you? Like, yeah, sure. And this is when camera phones were brand new to phones. So it's like 8
Razor
megapixels, like a super
Motorola
low quality.
Razor,
Exactly.
Samsung.
No, Razor. I don't even know if it was a Razor.
Oh, yeah. Razor was like this sort of transition before the BlackBerry.
It still had Snake, like that kind of like.
Yeah.
So my buddy took a picture with him, and I took the photo of them. And then he's walking out. He's like, "Will you take a photo with my friend?" And I was like, "No, I'm good. I don't want one." He's like, "No, just come take one." So we take one outside in the dark, and this is like Love Line's already over. They're getting ready to jump into their car, and there's people waiting at the gate to take photos of them and stuff and get autographs. And I'm standing there, and then Steve-O hands me a bottle of Jack Daniels, and he's like, "Hey, can you open this for me?" So like, sure, all excited, like, yeah, cool, I'm gonna do this thing. And I open it, and I hand it to him. I was like, cool, now take a swig. And at that point, I wasn't drinking. I had to drive home. I hadn't eaten in hours, and all these excuses in my head that I was telling myself for why I shouldn't do this right now.
You didn't want to.
I didn't want to, but I had many reasons why, and I was just like, you know what? No, I'm good, man. I got to drive. So like, all right, cool. And then he takes a big swig, and then he's like, you ready for the photo? I was like, yeah. He caps the Jack Daniels bottle, brings it up, and swings it down into my balls. And I hit the floor like in agony, and he's laughing. Chris Pontius is laughing. My buddy is dying laughing while the things is going on, and the people that are there to get the autographs are all laughing and dying.
That's
and Steve-O like
shitty.
He like head dives into the back of their limo ride or whatever. And one of the worst things about it is that phones back then didn't have cameras, so it didn't even come out. So there wasn't even like his reason for doing that whole thing. There's no evidence of it.
That's so shitty.
Well, there's little evidence.
Yeah, there's a little evidence.
Pain.
Yeah,
Steve-O gave you permanent testicular trauma.
Yeah, and then actually,
are you ever gonna book him on your show?
Funny thing is that when he started doing comedy, I was like, I got booked to do a show with him in Roswell, New Mexico, and then he canceled on it. So
he knew you had a bottle of whiskey ready.
No, I did.
You did?
I was ready to do that to him, and he canceled. So I was like, you.
Oh, you still got a vendetta.
You little bitch, Steve-O. Come on our podcast.
The flame is still burning.
I've told this story before, and I've put it out there. I'm like, if Steve-O lets me, I want to do it. Because now that he's sober, I know he would want to make amends. So I'm using that as an excuse so I can do it like at a live show. Next time
if I ever see him, I'm going to tell him your story.
Please do. Please let him know. Spread the word. And I dealt with that pain for years.
There was no liability on set?
Well, it wasn't
insurance.
It wasn't really a set. It was, I was just hanging out at the studio. I wasn't even supposed to be there. So there. I mean, I was fine with it, but I didn't. But I dealt with this pain for a long time, and I didn't realize, I thought that all dudes felt this pain all the time. Then I brought it up to like one of my cousins, and he was like, "No, I don't feel that." I was like, "Oh, I guess it's just me then." Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, life is good.
Dudes really fuck up their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just him like being with the boys.
I mean, I've never thought of like slamming a bottle of Jack to anyone's
into
nuts.
someone's vagina.
Yeah.
I've never punched a bitch.
Like when you're like riding a bike as a kid and you sort of fall off the seat and like
you've had a whole bunch of experiences with trauma there.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but like about a year ago, I tripped and like I fell in some sharp shit and it like literally just I was only wearing leggings, so there wasn't much of a buffer, and it just sort of and this is like listener discretion. This is a little graphic, but it basically went up and into the side, and so there was like an open wound internally, and it was a hematoma, and
it was.
But I'm okay. I'm okay, and everything's back to normal.
That pussy good. Everybody hear that? She's all healed up.
I had to sit in a tub for a month, but I did it.
My testicles are great. Thank you for asking. So, We're good. The listeners have nothing to worry about.
I'm a mess down there. I just don't. Nobody go near it.
Yeah, there's a lot of shrapnel in there from what we don't know.
It has a lot of
war
expressions.
zone.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to sabotage my own love life. Stay away from me.
It looks like she lost a limb, but
Oh my god.
How is it both all Ken doll and also too much at the same time?
oh my goodness.
Oh man, we really shared a lot, you guys. I'm really proud of us.
Yeah.
You guys both look so sad. I'm gaining energy, and you guys are like,
no. There was one
late night adrenaline.
This is my extrovert coming out.
Well, there was one thing I wanted to say, and a part of me was like, I got to make sure I circle back to this when we're talking about depression and all that.
Yeah.
You were talking about something about Jessica Michelle Singleton, how she talks about where it's a vessel that houses your feelings. One thing that I've sort of been working on to make peace with it is it's always like one thing they always say is you got to learn to love yourself, and I think that's too difficult of a task because you're always going to have something about yourself that you're going to negate. So I think it's the best thing you do is like you don't have to be friends with yourself, but you could at least be an acquaintance with it. So if you can find just a similar ground internally, something that you could be happy with, you can build from there. Because if you do everything to try to heal you're never really going to be 100% healed. So there's no point.
Well, there's always another level. There's always another level. There's no 100% healing. But the thing is like I think you can still I think if it depends where you are, an acquaintanceship is a step towards friendship.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying is that like start small with it because if you wait. If you put your life on hold, love life or anything from your life on hold until you've learned to really love yourself, then you're going to wait way too long. Like just wait to start off as an acquaintance and then build to a friend and then grow from there.
Even with your acquaintances, you want to see them win. You're like excited for them. You want to see them be successful.
Exactly.
I think that's like a common thing with like we were talking about like dudes our age. They don't. This is something I've been thinking about is like they feel like they have to accomplish something or achieve something in order to be able to find a partner. Like they feel like they have to be something.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they often like can't commit and stuff like that. And
I think it's maybe, and this can be a design flaw in men, but I feel like it's difficult for a man to multitask.
That's what I was. Yeah, I also say that like they can't find a job and love at the same time. Yeah.
Because also I think that, maybe there's difficulty in loving themselves until they sort of hit that, like reach that milestone. Although like we know the external success does not really influence real happiness, but like I feel like that is really common for guys.
They won't stop to think about loving themselves until they get to a place where they feel comfortable to explore that.
That is part of programming as who we are. It needs to be something tangible. One thing I've expressed about comedy is that it's hard to be able to rate or calculate your level of success in it because it is an intangible thing. Like you could think to yourself, the amount of followers you have on Instagram, sure, the amount of albums you sell or podcast listeners or downloads and all that, that's all great. But because it's intangible, it's not something you can physically hold, not something you can't physically see. It's something that it's hard for you to feel like you've reached it. So you're always going to be striving for it. And I think that is something that is also with love or with success. It's like we are told that when you are successful, you can buy a nice car, have a house, start a family, and then they put all these goals in it because they think that these are all the things they need to do. And some people are programmed the exact opposite, where they don't they're never instilled with all that, and they don't really want that. I mean, one thing about me is so I don't really advertise as much about it because I never consider this a part of who I am. I mean, it is a part of who I am, but it's not a part that defines me, but I'm on the spectrum. So I didn't know this until growing up or until I was able to reflect later on in life. Like anything that I'm dealing with, I won't know how I've processed it until further down the line. That's going back to why I'm I can't be in the moment. So I can sit and watch two people have a conversation, and then I'll absorb that conversation. I'll learn that information that's there, and then I can apply it to somewhere later on in life, or when I reflect and I think back about that conversation that was had, then I can apply that. So if you tell me that these are the things that you need to do in your life, I will go and I'll do those specific things in life. But everyone is programmed so differently. Not necessarily, maybe our age. It could be. I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 30.
Okay, so you're 5 years younger than I am. So it is. I have noticed that people or men that are around that age have sort of an arrested development is a growing thing. At least maybe just within my community, but I'm noticing that it is like a more common trait. I kind of lost my train of thought here a little bit, but there is a point where like relationships are intangible, you know, so it's kind of hard to know when you're in a healthy one or when you're in a good one. I don't know.
Well, yeah, when you're in the haze, you're in the feelings. It's like being in the feelings. Like it's just, I don't know, when you're just, feelings are intense.
Yeah.
So like in a relationship, you could be in a, and by you, I mean me, and anyone can be in a really toxic relationship and it still feels like,
rather have something than nothing.
Yeah. Well, also it doesn't make sense because it's just like, well, I don't know if it's euphoric recall where you're like, oh, the good times were so good and you get attached to that, but you're not thinking clearly. I know, like, I've had that. I feel like that's very human.
Yeah.
This, like, remember, when I was having, like, I was sitting here and I was like, I'm not well.
Yeah.
I'm not well.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm not well.
Yeah. I definitely, it's also a thing where I was talking to someone else about like nerd love and how I always felt like I was a messy person. Like in my head, I was like, there are clean people and there are messy people and I'm a messy person. Mm-hmm. Like I have all these emotions and like things don't go right in my life. And like, it's kind of like victim-y. Yeah. And I always thought that's like just who I am. And that's like, how my relationships are. And then like last year, one of my really smart friends was telling me about this irrational love that he had for this woman. And he knew like mentally it wouldn't work out. Yeah. But he couldn't help feeling the way he felt. Like, so he had to like remove himself because he was like, this is going to be bad. And I was like, oh, you're smart as shit and you still can't control it.
Yeah, well, because it's not an intellect thing.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. But it took me almost 30 years to be like, to kind of reconcile myself with that. It's not like my intelligence. It's not like the fault of my mind. Yeah. And that's something that, people get, but it's like, it's hard to actually believe it.
It can sometimes be an addictive quality. So if you think of addiction, it's not a rational thing.
Well, it's 100% addictive.
Relationships are another one of the many things to fill a void.
It's all a chemical reaction initially. Yeah. It's so it's very euphoric. I have someone in my life who is in love who's addicted to falling in love. So we'll
there are those people.
So we'll simultaneously end and restart the same relationship just so they can go back to that beginning.
The breakup routine.
Exactly.
Very toxic.
So it's a very much along the lines of like kiss and makeup and the makeup sex and all that blah blah. But it is a like an addictive thing to deal with, and it's also really hard. And I think one of the things that you were saying about like the way you perceive yourself, it's always so hard because we always kind of label ourselves and we put ourselves in a certain thing, so we assume that things are a certain way and we think that it's just us. But it's everyone. Everyone has the exact same faults. Everyone has the same issues with love and with not knowing when it's there or when it's something.
I think that's both like comforting and also a huge blow to the ego, right? Because you want people to understand you. We want people to understand us so desperately. We want to be loved. We want to be validated, but simultaneously we want to feel special, right? So when we're often like, I call it like Batman mode, like you don't understand me. No one gets me. I'm in this alone. It's like special, but it's so lonely. Yeah. So it's just two sides to it. You want that but you have to have that validation from the right things. Yeah. It can't just be the suffering.
Would you want to be the only person dealing with that though? Or do you take comfort in that it's sort of that knowing that it's not really just you?
But that's what I'm saying. It's a two-sided thing. I think that there is like ego involved. I thought, like, being brutally honest, I feel like people who are like you, nobody understands me. There is a thing of like, you're still special. You're like different than everybody. Yeah. Right. And that might be like a defense mechanism, something, and it's not rational, but we constantly want to feel special and also the same. I feel like it's a constant battle in our lives to connect to people, but like be special in the eyes of everyone.
And then I think, that for me, the way I can cope with that is sort of understanding the different perspectives, like in the cosmic sense, the broader sense, like, we all are basically like one thing. We're all part of this, whatever, this time, space, reality, whatever. But like, but we all, when we're focused into the organism or whatever it is, it's just like no one's the same. So we're all simultaneously the same and different.
Yeah.
And that's how I reconcile.
We all share molecules. One time I had a dream that like.
You talking about STDs, bro?
Yeah. I leave you with my STDs. Enjoy. No, I had a dream once that I died.
Maybe we need to re-examine the nut issue.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out what that burning is.
Yeah.
It's all Steve-O.
I mean, we kept putting it on.
I'm just past Steve. Like
just dragging
if there's a burning
herpes,
sensation,
is that what
just
you're
blame
saying?
it on Steve-O.
You heard it here. Steve-O has herpes.
You know what? No, it's not even Steve-O.
I'm kidding.
It's the Jack Daniels bottle that had the STDs. So it's crazy.
You think that man is like slamming his dick into things and also using protection? Anyways, you had a dream. I ruined your dream thought.
No, what was my dream? So I had a dream that I died and that I was essentially floating off into space, and that there was like this giant cosmic energy, and like heaven was more like a network of spirits. Like when you join it, it's like suddenly you've joined the network and you're part of it. So now there's a simulation, like a spiritual simulation of like what heaven is, because it's all a connection. And it's like some people choose not to be a part of it. Those are the spirits that are stuck on earth. Like someone's explaining it to me. And then, but if you wanted to restart life, you wanted to go at it again, you essentially are reborn through another person. And then they tell you like, but a part of
the organism.
Exactly.
The organism. So the consciousness is always but that's the thing, is like how the universe is always expanding. So the new consciousness continues to exist from that point, even though it always did exist in a certain certain level.
So in my dream, God and heaven are the same thing.
Yeah.
And
I like to think that we're all just consciousness taught. So like me and you, it's just like we're having a conversation with ourselves. Like we're all the same. So we're all just playing a role. Like Paul over there, I had another shout out to Paul doing our sound. Paul, you're not Paul. Paul's God. God's talking to God, right?
Yeah.
This is so dope. This table, man. The table has a level of consciousness.
Is the table
so the focus of the table's consciousness.
When you said it's a network of people, in my head I immediately was like, "Fuck, we got a network in heaven too." God damn it!
Coming back to social anxiety.
I know. I was like, who books heaven? Is that?
I mean, do you really want to go to heaven?
I don't believe in any of it.
Yeah, it's just a state of mind, I think.
Well, my whole thing was
death is going to be lit, though.
Yeah, I honestly think that I'm not. I've had my life. I've had my life threatened a couple times.
Ooh.
By your father?
No, it was
and
like
Steve-O.
someone pulled a gun.
Everyone's hurting you, and you just survived.
Man.
You endure. You're a woman.
My sister did stab me once, but that was an accident.
What the fuck, dude?
Wait, what?
Your 4'11" sister was just shanking you?
Yeah, but this was an accident. We were making food, and then she had a knife in her hand, and she turned around and stabbed me. And then
where?
In the shoulder.
Right in the testicle.
Yeah, in the testicles. It was right next to the bottle. Yeah, her and Steve-O both came at me at the same time.
I'm saying worse shit about your balls, dude. I'm sorry.
That was totally fine. I'm the one that brought it up.
Yeah,
it's like,
so
there's nothing wrong with that. No, but she stabbed me and she apologized a lot. Sometimes I will text her, but like, do you remember when you stabbed me? And she just responds back with, yeah. Because
you're like, can you pick up my dry cleaning?
Yeah, so I like to remind her. Just makes.
I feel like you're purposely getting hurt just so you can make your family
hold
do
it over their heads.
I've been in such weird situations.
You sure you didn't lie behind the car? You weren't just lying there waiting for dad.
The job. Well, I was.
I'm forgetting what he ran over. He ran over the nuts, the leg.
It was my calf.
Yeah. So you got run over on his leg. He got hit in the balls and then stabbed.
Yeah, I also had a gun on me, but they didn't shoot. So wait.
Yeah, let's not try for that. Let's not test that.
Do it.
Oh God. Oh man.
No, so I know. So I'm not a very macho guy, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, we can recommend.
No, I was trying to be subtle.
But sometimes you're like, you've been through shit.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, hit me, I can handle it. But then I'll get like a paper cut and be like, ooh, or something.
Sometimes all those little hurts and insensitive spots like hurt way more than overall trauma.
Yeah.
Have you gotten a paper cut in between your fingers?
Fucking sucks, dude. It's the worst.
Like, run over my nuts, please.
Yeah, run over Fizz is nuts.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but a woman will never know the true pain of having their leg run over while being kicked in the balls.
And stabbed in the shoulder.
Stabbed in the shoulder, yeah.
And what was there a gun?
Also had a wrench.
I
also had a wrench fall on my head. But
a what?
A wrench.
A wrench?
How?
It
fell off the wrench.
Maybe Steve was just mad you were stealing Jackass from
my
him.
Like
uncle you were doing it without the cameras.
Well, actually, I just remembered I did get hit by a car once, but that wasn't.
Christ.
But
well, no wonder you forgot. You got hit in the head with a wrench.
So he's really unbreakable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys want to hit me with something after this, we can. I'll show you guys. I'm pretty invincible. Unless it's like ran out. Like, what if like this is the moment where I'm suddenly breakable?
I mean, I used to let people punch me in my titties in high school, but like this is another level.
I'll let you punch me in the gut.
Issues.
I'll let you punch. I'll let you punch me in the gut.
I've evolved.
I don't mind it. It happens quite often.
Sometimes you have to feel physical pain.
What do you mean?
You get punched in the gut often, or
guy cousins just fuck around, just randomly hit.
At least it's not the balls. Like at least they moved upwards.
Yeah, no, I used to hit my cousin in the balls all the time, but once that happened to me, I was like, I have so much respect for your testicles. I will just hit you in the shoulder and the stomach. And that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know because the wrench hit you in the head. You got the shoulder.
One was stupid. My uncle put a nail on the garage. And like
your whole
the wall.
Family's trying to kill you.
And then he hung the wrench there, and the reason he hung it there was because he was doing some work on the roof, and he wanted to like have like a placeholder for it. And we're playing basketball, and the basketball court it's connected to the garage. So I hit the garage door, and it just falls and kunks hits me on the head. And then again, I was like, I'm
how high was
destination, but with your family.
Yeah, I mean,
how high was it? Because I'm just trying to gauge the momentum with
about 6
velocity
feet over my head.
Oh my God! So that like hit you pretty good.
Lot.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, well, we're glad you're alive.
I know.
We're glad you made this podcast.
And yet the one time I sprained both ankles walking on an uneven pavement. So I have an Achilles heel, and it's an Achilles ankle.
This guy's klutzier than me.
Oh shit, he might be.
I might.
Fizz is hella klutzy.
Yeah.
But I thought I was klutzy, and then like the things that you were telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I just have like weird long limbs.
You're like an antelope.
Are antelopes known for being like
I don't know, like like a newborn like deer or whatever.
Oh,
You're like that.
The
like when
first...
I saw you at the photo shoot, like there was something that was like pulling, and I just like watched you in action, and I was like, you were a deer, like a newborn deer. Sometimes
like a newborn deer that was born on a patch of ice, just trying to figure it out. Yeah.
How does my body work?
Yeah.
All right, we gotta wrap up. We like to ask a couple questions at the end.
Go for it.
Who is your favorite South Asian celebrity?
And to clarify, South Asian, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan,
brown Asian.
Oh, I don't know. I've never really thought of that. I don't really have like that specific category, like about ethnicity wise, like who I like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll say this much: if it's polarizing, I apologize. But I've really been a fan of Aziz Ansari after he did Master of None.
Yeah.
I really dug that. There's probably someone who like when I drive home and be like, damn it, that could have been better, but. As of right now, that's what's coming to me.
I heard his new hour is really good, and he addresses what happened in a very positive way.
Yeah.
What we wanted Louis to do.
Well, exactly.
And he never talked about it.
And he never talked about it. But also what Aziz did, I think, was like not on the same level as what Louis did.
Yeah, definitely.
But apparently
I don't mean to conflate.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. But I don't care. No, I'm not them. But apparently it's like really well thought out. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually like excited to see it.
So I'm going to stick with my Aziz as an answer. Then.
I want redemption for people. I want them to figure shit out.
Well, that's why I really wanted to hear Louis' perspective on it, but maybe he's not there yet.
He passed that. He just went straight to like, you know what?
Fuck it.
I dealt with that already. You don't need to hear about it because I dealt with it personally.
But that's not dealing with
keeping it.
Yeah,
I don't think he's dealt with it. If that's given what his attitude has been.
Well, especially because he's always talked about like go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. So like he's at that point. It's just like, well, why are you sort of omitting this thing?
He's stepping over that. What I'm saying is like I'm not saying he's like dealt with it. I'm saying he's like stepped over it and moved on. And he's saying like I moved on from it. Why are you still there?
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I heard Aziz is so hopefully he'll get his story back and he'll have learned. I think he says something like that. Like, I hope, like, if one person has learned, I hope from my story, then it's good that they've, got out there.
What's the next question?
It's do we have another question?
We do, but I also forgot it.
Man, segments. Build a stereotype.
No.
Yeah, that's what
what's
we do
your
for
dumb?
What?
It's a stupid question.
How does Paul know? Paul, you actually listen to us?
What's like? Do you have like a dumb question about our culture? Like, this is a safe space. Like, do you have a question that you've always wondered about, like South Asian?
We've had a lot of brown people on our podcast. I think our like.
Am I the first Hispanic brown? Or
no, we've had like 50 episodes by now, right?
What if he is? Who? We've had to have had somebody else.
I'm sure you might have.
Yeah.
Paul?
He's yawning.
Yeah.
You're white passing, remember?
Yeah. I look super Native American, so I don't know because
so funny. You were like, no.
I'm going to tell you guys something that I might have said before that I don't have any questions because I was going to say growing up, I didn't know that races were a thing. Like, I didn't know there was different ethnicity. I just thought that people had slight variations in aesthetics.
Did you grow up in a very diverse environment?
No, but I also didn't question it when there would be like a black family in a neighborhood or a white family. Okay. I just sort of assumed, like, I didn't even know that Armenians were Armenians. I just thought that they were also Hispanic. But at the same time, I didn't really think as Hispanic as a thing. I just thought that, like, it was like, oh, his dad is black, so he's black, but I didn't think of it that way. So I don't really have any sort of like thoughts of that kind of stuff. So I wish I had a better answer for you or something a little more embarrassing. But I don't have any of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fine. Valid.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to make you.
True. I want to. I feel like I want to share one more story, but we're out of time. But I'll save something for next time if you guys will have me back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're giving us a little to be continued.
Yeah, I have more stories about ways where I could have been broken but did not.
Oh, just like you should just have one podcast.
Do you have
like
scars?
Stories.
No. I mean, some. Well, here's the thing. Like, I have a cat. Like
a fucking cat.
Here's the thing.
This is why cats are evil.
Look how smooth the skin is.
So
what is this?
I have my knee skin got ripped off once playing basketball.
Of course,
and
this classic.
But the scar is barely visible now. Mm-hmm. But like the scars that
when you see the knee skin got ripped off, were you looking at a kneecap?
Yeah, pretty much.
Were you looking at like the white meat, the bone? There's no meat there.
We're playing two-hand touch football on concrete, and my cousin shoved me. And I spun on my knee.
Always the family.
And,
this is all domestic abuse.
I apologize. I see his hand fidgeting over there, so I'll save that story for next time.
Yeah.
All right,
but
cool.
There's more.
All right. Well, God, it's so frustrating. A cat did it. All right.
Where can we find you on the internets?
Okay, social media at I am Jose Chavez, at I am Jose Chavez on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, but Snapchat's kind of stupid. I mostly just show videos of my cats. If you want to check out my podcast, it's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. It's called Awkwardly Social Podcast. There's also the website awkwardlysocialcomedy.com.
Tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Fizadasani, at Fizadasani on the platforms, social media platforms, Fizadasani.com, Fizaa Dasani, Dosani. And Zara's not here, so I'll do hers. Zara is at Really Zara, Zahra, on all the social media platforms.
We're facial recognition comedy. Well, I'll do mine first.
Yeah.
I'm doing it backwards because I usually do. I usually say talk first. It's midnight. I'm Paula Viganalin, PallaVigunAlan. That's my website, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter. We are facial recognition comedy.
Oh, I want to see if I can try to do the socials.
Do it.
A nice little challenge.
Do it.
Shout out to Comedy Pop-Up.
Just have my back.
This is a dope spot.
Shout out to Comedy. So, facialrecognitioncomedy.com, facial rec comedy on Twitter, which I should know because I made the account, and then facial recognition comedy on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah,
I did it.
Don't forget to find the porn at facial rec, which is just very inappropriate.
We decided facial wrecked would be a great porn name.
And shows.
We also go ahead.
Oh, can I plug one?
Yeah.
April 11th, I have the next Awkwardly Social Comedy Show at the Ice House Comedy Club in Pasadena. So
Ice
you can get that at the icehousecomedy.com. April 11th, you can find it there, or you can get the tickets linked through awkwardsocialcomedy.com.
Hell yeah. And our show, we have a monthly show in Santa Monica, our residency at Westside Comedy Club. It's second Sunday of every month. The next one is April 14th at 9 p.m. And keep an eye out because we're going to bring the show back to New York and back to the OC.
I think it's technically Westside Comedy Theater in LA, in Santa Monica.
What did I say?
You said Comedy Club, which is
yeah, that's in New York.
Yeah.
Westside
Theater.
Comedy Theater.
But
We've
it was
done
really
Westside
good.
Comedy
You did a
Club
great
before.
job.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad.
It was pretty good.
I
was just hyper aware of it from like tagging both things that one week.
Yeah.
We were in both. But yeah, we're going to come to New York. We're trying to do a tour in the Midwest. Buy our merch. It's our faces.
Yeah.
On a shirt. Thank you, Jose.
Hi, thank you.
You want to leave us with something? A word or two?
Just what I always tell people. Keep life awkward.